All right, I think we're live now. Woo!
We're here. We're live.
Yes, we're live. So, hi everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Rebecca Martin. I am the founder of Cinema Femme. I'm the managing editor and the festival director of our short film festival. And I am so excited to talk to Katie Waters. She's doing things that I don't know like anything about really, but I'm very interested. So this is going to be very educational for you, for me, and I'm just really excited to get into it. So yeah, Katie, I'm curious what brought you to sound, and also were there any films that kind of, inspired you to be a sound editor or Foley artist? And we'll go into what Foley artist is because I didn't know what that was until I learned about you. So yeah.
So I got into sound in my senior year in high school. One of my art teachers got the school to allow him to do a film editing class and then also like I guess a film photography class. So I started playing with sound and the film editing class, and that's when I started cutting sound when we were making movies for this class. And I definitely was addicted to editing, and just playing with pulling in music tracks and how they worked with visuals. And I also would I was really into indie rock and would make music videos with some of my guy friends, and we would film, and then we would lip sync over the song and make music video, and then I was the one editing the music video. And back then, some bands would have contests, submit a music video for this song and you'll win tickets to this concert. So
that's great.
So fun, late 2000s, so that's really I guess when I really started gravitating towards playing with sound. Mm-hmm. And then as far as movies and how I started watching movies from a more educational and creative standpoint of mm-hmm. Oh my God, somebody's doing this. I know a lot of people like Wes Anderson films. One that really got to me was, or two really, I really fell in love with Rushmore and the Royal Tenenbaums.
Yes.
So he works with the same music supervisor. I think it's Randy Palmer or something. His last name starts with a P, I think, but mm-hmm. I probably messed that up. But anyways, I know it's his music supervisor, and I loved how his music choices and how music was such a huge role, and how you could just feel how characters felt in the movie. It's kind of put you in their head and mm-hmm. how they were feeling, mm-hmm. even though they weren't speaking. So I was like, man, that would be a cool job to pick songs for movies. And so I started reading about music supervision, and I grew up in Central Illinois, about 3 hours south of Chicago. So I was like, where could I go that's still in Illinois? Columbia College had just a film program. So I decided they did have a music supervision class, not a degree, but one mm-hmm. class. So I actually went to community college and in Peoria and got a multimedia degree, did more film editing, more photography. And then I was like, I'm going to go to film school for 2 years, went to Columbia. All my electives were pretty much in post-production sound. And I took that music supervision class and found this is a lot more paperwork and legal stuff and less about the creative. Mm-hmm. I still got to learn about just dissecting music and using it to picture to tell a story, which was super valuable. But I still I was diving into post-production audio, where I was learning about sound editing and sound design and Foley and ADR. Mm-hmm. And I just was I felt like I lived in the department, the audio suite, where classes were, and I never wanted to leave. Like I was just always working on my projects for school and just trying to bring these, just being super detailed and sound, and the world stories that the students were making that I was paired with. So and that's where I first learned about Foley, was a class at Columbia called the Art and Craft of Foley. And we would basically practice Foley, we would practice recording Foley,
and question, again, you'll have to educate me. So can you talk to me about what a Foley artist is, and where did that term come from?
Yeah, so a Foley artist is someone that performs sounds while there is someone else recording the Foley artist performing the sounds.
Okay.
As they watch the picture that's been picture locked, edited, they watch the actors on screen and they perform sounds. So typically it's character based. So footsteps are one thing Foley artists record. So as characters are walking, they walk exactly how they are, pick out a shoe, look at the same surface. So if it's like a hard leather sole and they're walking on concrete, we look at those details and we try to basically create that sound and match the sound that was recorded on set. It's basically, we have set as a reference and we're trying to replicate that, and everything is real as possible.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so footsteps, props, and then their cloth noise or body movement. Props are typically anything they touch. So like if a coffee cup's picked off of a table, or maybe they take a cigarette out of their mouth, or they pick up a suitcase, those are props. And then usually we'll do like some like body cloth noise if they take off a jacket, or maybe they sit down in a chair, or if it's a really tight, close shot and you see an actor walking and you want to hear their cloth rustle with them. So those are typically the things that we record Foley.
That's great.
And Foley started, I want to say, I don't know, I'm really bad with history, but it was like 1930s, 1920s, whenever talking movies came out. Technology was kind of evolving, and there was someone named by Jack Foley, who actually that's where the name derives from. He when they wanted to hear sounds against picture, they needed someone to perform the sounds, and he would perform them. And then as technology advanced and they had the ability to record them, and so it slowly progressed with bigger studios, like bigger studio pictures. So he was the first one to kind of like evolve, like how can sound be used with picture, and he would do it for radio plays and stuff, because before picture it was pretty much radio. So there was always, an artist like making sounds and performing sounds, which is what he did. But when picture came along, he was really the one that like joined picture with someone performing and watching and reenacting what actors did on set. So doing everything perfectly in sync to what is going on screen. So
that's great. And that it was just so fascinating to me, because I'm like, I interview so many filmmakers, and I don't get into enough like the other bits, what you do is so specific, but it's like so important. And I'm curious, like, can you talk to me a little bit about Noisefloor, where you work, and how you came to being a Foley artist there?
So Foley is such a niche thing, and it's just a teeny bit of part of post-production sound. Like when we do, for example, like a film at Noisefloor, there could be a team of 7 sound editors working on the project. And so like, just to go into that, there's someone that's cleaning up the dialogue. So they're going through all the microphones that were recorded on set, and they're picking the best mics to use. And then they're going through and they're trying to restore that audio to the best quality as possible. So if there's generators, if there's HVAC units, like just unwanted hums, refrigerators, maybe it's summer and it's crazy cicada time and it's just so hard to understand the lines. Dialogue is the first important thing. That's the important thing about production sound, is we're capturing dialogue. So in the dialogue edit and post-production sound, we're trying to restore that and make it clean as possible. After that, it's the background or ambiances. That's, putting in background sounds to let the audience know where are we? What time of day is it? Is there a specific mood we need to set? Like, is it, do we want it to feel busy and chaotic, or do we want it to feel kind of lonely? We can do that with backgrounds and what you hear in the backgrounds, if it's wind, traffic, rain, just all those kind of things. I'm telling you, I'll tell you this now, and then you're going to start, like, you're going to leave this and like the next week or next few days, you're just going to be paying attention to every little thing around you.
Yeah, tell me.
So after backgrounds, there's sound effects editor, and those are like your real sounds that are like door open and closes, car pass-bys. Foley is a part of the sound effects team. I work with the sound effects team because sometimes there's, like I said, it's pretty much character based. So footsteps, anything they touch, or their cloth. But sometimes there are sounds that, like, I was just doing this today, like this character hits a gate and he falls over. So I do like a gate impact when his hands touch the gate, but then our sound effects editor cuts in like a bigger gate impact that actually matches more how the gate looks. And we marry those sound layers together so it completes it. And then there's sound design, which is more of your surreal sounds that would be like your whooshes or like transitions, or if there's flashback scenes, anything that's like surreal that we don't hear in reality, but it really helps the audience go like, whoa, like, this person is going through something in their head that we need to understand or draw us to. And then there's the Foley, which I've already really talked about that. And then there's the re-recording mixer, who takes all those layers, and they'll take the music from the composer, which we also have a composer at Noisefloor too, which if we get to work on a project, that really helps with everybody, because we can, like, I can work with the composer and go, hey, is this full up music here? Because, maybe I won't do the footsteps if music is taking over, or music works with sound design a lot, and they can kind of sound design can play with music elements, and music can play with sound design, and maybe they won't clash. They can work together if they're communicating at the same time. And so once, the music is done too, then the re-recording mixer takes all those layers and mixes them at the proper levels, and also puts them in the right spaces, like all of the EQ and compression and reverb. They do all of that at the mix stage to kind of sound how it should. Like if someone's talking behind a door, but we're on the other side of the door, that sounds muffled. It's not crisp. Well, that's where EQ comes into place. So the mixer is doing things like that to make sure that the perspectives are right.
Yeah. And actually, so two things. One, I didn't say this in the beginning, and I totally should have. Noisefloor is a sound studio, right? Is that kind of what you would call it? Although I know you do like everything sound. I mean, what kind of projects? Like maybe talk about some projects you've done recently. Like, because I know you guys work with like video games and like all like films, and can you talk about maybe some like recent projects you've been working on?
Yeah. So, and then just to answer your question about what we are, I mean, we're a sound and music studio, so we do everything sound from soup to nuts. So like we have people on staff that go on set to record production sound, and then everybody else is post-production in the post-production sound world. And we have a composer on. as well that does original music and music licensing and music supervision.
That's great.
So, and then some projects. You just recently interviewed the female cast of Relative. We worked on Relative.
Yes, cool.
Which was a feature film made here in Chicago, with directed by Michael Glover Smith. And it's in a lot of theaters now in Chicago. So if anybody's listening and you get a chance, watch it. It's a good movie.
And they just had their Chicago premiere last night at the Midwest Film Festival. And I was gonna go, but I couldn't. But I knew a lot of people who went, and Michael Smith, he's actually a friend, and so I've been following the film. What kind of things did you do with Relative? Like what things with sound? Like everything, or
So we did post-production sound, so the dialogue cleanup, sound effects, backgrounds, Foley, and mixed. And then Devin, our composer, also did an original song for I don't know exactly where in the movie it is, but he worked with people, did original song for it.
Great.
And I know he was working at some time to try to license some music as well, but I don't know if they actually got the rights, and that's why Devin is writing a song for him. So everybody got to work on that a little bit, which is always fun.
And then I was gonna, I'm sorry, continue. I didn't.
Oh no, go ahead. I was just trying to think of other projects, but
well, I mean, I'm curious, like, do you work with mostly like Chicago projects, or is it like all over?
All over, yeah. We tend to try to outreach everywhere if we can. And we don't push anybody away. Obviously, our bread and butter is Chicago, because if the filmmaker's here and they can come in, to do in-person session in the beginning or at the end of the project, then that always helps to have that face-to-face. But because of the pandemic, it's we were already working remote with people before that. Like, so many people have transported to other places even before the pandemic, that or we just like connected with a filmmaker not here, and it's all possible. So I mean, the technology is there, so there's no limits.
And then we were talking about before we went live about the female community for Foley artists, because I was like, this is sad, but I always assume that like it's mostly men and these like technical parts of film, and it's really encouraging to hear there's a lot of women who are Foley artists. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I would say, based on like my research and following, and I've learned so much from other Foley artists and YouTube, and seeing them in the act on YouTube. There are a lot of female Foley artists. There are a lot of men as well. They're all amazing, but there are a lot, and I think that's because a lot of older Foley artists, like, who are probably, like, I'm in my early 30s, a lot of Foley artists now that have been doing it for 30 years, they're in their 50s, 60s, and they're still working, because it's fun, and it is hard, but it is fun. I think they're I hear some of them talk on Zoom, and like they're they'd like to retire, but they started like because they were dancers or actors or something, and because it is performance art. I think a lot of I've heard people, I was a musician or I was a dancer, like there's all this like musical connection or just performance in some way, and I think that's why people stick with it. Like, if you enjoy performing, it's really your thing. You're good at performing. So, and I did act in, like, I started acting in middle school and high school, just in school plays. I never took it anywhere further, but I loved it. And you know, I loved acting. It's one of my fondest memories from when I was in high school, and it makes sense. I also played um, a lot of sports. I played basketball and softball, and I swam,
Wow.
which the more I think about it, I'm like, you have to be able to record and hold your breath for a lot of things, especially, I mean, even
Oh,
running scenes, like you have to be quiet when you're in front of the microphone. So um I'm like, it's good that I'm okay like being physical. And yeah, so I think all of those things kind of connect together. But yeah, we were talking. So if anybody's interested in learning more about Foley or just seeing what Foley
yeah.
artists do, there's a really, really great Foley artist page on Facebook called Foley Artist. It's mainly Foley artists or people that are interested in getting into Foley. Uh, but and they do read the rules, answer all the questions before joining. They
Mhm.
want to know who you are and why you're joining. So yeah, but there's a lot of Foley artists on there and a lot of fun links about Foley. And it's just people who love Foley and are just love the performance and why we do it and try to keep it alive. So
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And then I just had two more questions. One is a question I always ask the filmmakers I talk to, and I'm kind of curious what your answer would be as like a Foley artist, sound editor. What do you hope people see in your work or hear?
well, that's kind of the interesting thing with Foley is if 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 people are, well, it can kind of be two things, I guess. If you really know what Foley sounds like good, then you're probably just going, that sounds good, that sounds real. If you're going, oh, what was that? And we're taking you out of the story, then we're not doing our jobs. We're kind of want to be unnoticed, if that makes sense. Because
Yeah.
we're doing real sounds, we're trying to match production. The only thing it's a little different is like if Foley is done for an animation, because it's not necessarily real. Animation can be cartoony or it can be stylized. So Foley might help. But I don't have a lot of experience in animation, so I can't talk too much there.
Okay.
But when you're watching live action films, it's if I'm making you go like think about it, then I may not be doing a very good job. So
Yeah. Right.
hopefully, but if you listen more and more and you start listening to footsteps and you go, that sounds real, and oh, those sound good. Or fight scenes, like if you're watching action movies and there's I mean, there could be swords or punches, and punches and kicks kind of work with the sound effects team as well, but Foley helps with that. So if all that sounds like really awesome and is like hyping you up and you're like, whoa, this sounds so good, then they're doing their job, right? We're all doing our job. So
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah, and I don't know, I'm really just fascinated by what you do because there's definitely an art to be a Foley artist, and I love hearing about what goes on behind the scenes. Do you have anything coming up that you could talk about that you're working on,
um let's see.
or something recent? I mean, I know you mentioned relative, but I don't know if there's something else.
um I'm trying to think. I'm like worried that there's like an NDA that I don't
Oh,
know
okay.
about.
You know what? Don't worry about it. I'll throw another question at you.
Okay.
So can you talk to me about an experience you had working on a project that you're really, kind of proud of? And I don't know, or something that, it just makes you feel good about what you're doing.
Oh yeah. So we work on a video game called Destiny, and we do the video game cinematics that are like the little movies that tell the story in between the game.
Mhm.
And when anything I've done in the past, like when we've worked on those, and then like I I see it in the game, I'm just like, I can't believe I'm doing this for one, like that I get to do this. And like when there's a chance for Foley to shine on in any of those, I'm really proud of like what I'm hearing. We get to listen back to it in our screening room here in a great listening environment to really hear just all these layers of detail that me and my mixer partner Brian have worked together to kind of just like build these characters' bodies, like their armor and stuff. Or like I'm trying to get more into sword shings. Like I just think they're so cool, and we have like
you have swords there, right?
So many swords.
Oh my goodness.
So
that's awesome.
I'm like, why are we using libraries? I have 5 swords here. Like, leave all the sword shings to me. Let's get the real deal in there. So
that's awesome.
But yeah, like any of the video game cinematic work is like, it's all like really heavy objects that I'm using too. So I'm using a lot of my body and force to get the right sound and measuring that, and then just hearing it with all the layers that our sound design team does, and it's just really cool to see it all come together. It's like I'm in the kitchen a lot too at home, so it's kind of like baking something and spending a lot of time in the kitchen, like, and then I'm waiting for the mixer or like waiting for the cookies in the oven or whatever. And, just waiting to see how it comes out or how they're gonna use it. Like you may do something and then it like there's music, so it might be hard to hear, or it's just like you don't know how it's going to get used in the mix. I'm just gonna try to give them everything so there's coverage. But yeah, I'm very proud of the Destiny work. And then there was a horror film that we did like a couple years ago that's out right now, called The Stylist.
The Stylist. Okay.
Yeah. It's won a good amount of awards in the festival circuit. I'm pretty proud of like all the gore scenes that we did. The director was vegetarian and didn't want us to use any meat. That was something that she requested. Which I was totally fine with. I was like, okay, I won't use the usual like cold chicken, that I feel like you see on the internet a lot. But so we brought in like just a bunch of fruits and vegetables. Like we brought in a watermelon, tomatoes, oranges, and just had like a really juicy lunch, I guess, in the Foley room, and recorded all these different like just wet, nasty layers for these blood scenes.
I'm gonna have to look at, is this film streaming? Can you find it?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can.
I mean, it's cool. I can look it up when we're done. In fact, the things that we've been talking about, I've been noting, and I think I'm gonna just add it in the comments for people who are curious. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I just looked on my phone, so it's 99 cents on Amazon Prime or $2 on Google Play.
Okay, and what is it about?
So it's about a hairstylist that I don't want to.
I guess no spoilers, but yeah.
I don't want to give any spoilers, but I don't know, she tries to get really close to some of her victims, and you don't know like I guess, and like her clients, and you don't know which of her clients are going to live.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe like little Sweeney Toddish, but also I don't know, maybe not so much. She has a lot going up here that she's dealing with. So
okay. So kind of psychological a little bit. Yeah. Okay. I always have to vet horror films because I don't know what I can handle and what I can't handle. So I just got to get a good idea of like, is this too much? Is this too much gore? Is this more psychological, which I think I could handle? So that's That's interesting. Yeah.
There's a pretty graphic scene in the first 20 minutes. So I think
okay, good heads up. Yeah.
Yeah, like if you can't get through that, then
just stop.
but if you can get through that, then she does pretty much similar thing through the rest of the film. It might just get a little wet sounder. Just
yeah, man. I mean, I think what you're doing is awesome. That's to be so a part of a film like that and just like, that's great. That's awesome. So yeah, we've kind of come to the end here. Did you have anything to add in terms about what you're working on? Anything, advice you might give to women who want to get into being a Foley artist?
I would say, as far as like what I'm working on right now, I'm working on a handful of short films. I know we didn't sign an NDA on that. It's called Guitar Thief. It's about two guys that are in a mariachi band, and it was filmed all in Chicago. It's kind of filmed in Pilsen because I used to live in Bridgeport, and I'm recognizing all these restaurants and stuff. So, but yeah, they basically they get their guitar stolen from them, and they're kind of trying to chase it down, and there's a lot of stealing going on, and it's a comedy. So it's very fun. It's short. It's like 14 minutes.
Okay.
So I don't know if their plan is just to do festivals or what. But there's that. I'm finishing that up right now. And then I know I'm working on a film called Exile, that was by a couple people here in Chicago, but I don't know much about the story. And then so there's those. And as far as advice for any females that want to get into Foley, definitely join the Foley Artist Facebook group page. Unfortunately, there's no like educational path for a Foley school. That's something like that I know of, and I've seen other Foley artists talk about. Like, there's no one started a school to teach people. Like you can practice in your house, like watch a movie, pause it, grab props, or footsteps, and you can try it and see if you even like it. But yeah, I mean, you can, there's other, in the Midwest, like there's maybe a couple places that have stages, like you could do internships and maybe shadow or something, just to see what it's like, or, watching someone do it. And I know that there's stages all over the world. And there's some places that it's just a building with a stage and all they do is Foley, and I'm sure that they need help. So, but yeah, I would, and watch videos on YouTube. There's so many videos that you just get a sense of like what the craft is and what props to use. And a lot of them are the same props that have other Foley artists have used, but, it's a good way just to like try to hear, like put your ear out there and like start thinking, with your ears. But yeah, that I guess that would be my.
Yeah, that's great. And I want to thank you so much for, joining me today to talk about what you do. I really appreciate it. Now I'm just going to be listening more. Especially in film, you watch movies and you're like, you forget about the sound, which is what you want, you just want to be in the movie, but it'll be interesting to just kind of be like, oh, maybe that sound came from many other places, so yeah, it's cool.
The cool thing now is like, if most people are probably watching stuff at home, so like you can always like, I feel like when I go home, like I'm gonna like you can watch something once, like just be immersed in it. And
Mhm.
then like if you want to watch something again and just like be more of a listener, you can
Mhm.
do that a second time. That's the great thing about streaming now, or
Yeah.
you know, even if you have DVDs still of like movies that you loved and you're like, I know I was obsessed with this movie, you know, was this sound any good in this? Like
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the Matrix is a good example. Like we, you know, we all love the Matrix,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
we love it for the story. But now if you go back and watch Matrix, the sound is so good.
Yeah. That's great. Okay, well, this is awesome. And I just wanted to add an ending note that Noisefloor is sponsoring our short film festival, and that is coming up the end of this month, April 28th to May 1st. So you can go to cinemafemme.com to learn all about it. And I'm just so excited that I could talk to you and just, learn more about, Foley art. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you for having me. This was so fun, and I hope
Yeah.
you learned something.
Maybe we
Or
could have like a part two, we'll just keep educating me and educating everyone. So this is awesome. So thank you,
I
Katie.